So I'm thrilled to be today with Renée Fleming on the Zoom call. Renée, of course, you are not only America's most beloved diva, but the world's beloved diva. And this Saturday, in the historic music salon of Dumbarton Oaks, you'll be singing a live performance for audiences at home for here and around the world. And this is the second in a series of the Metropolitan Opera's pay-per-view series of our greatest opera singers who are not currently able to sing at the Met or most opera stages, which are closed for the time being. And we're obviously thrilled that you're doing it. Before we start talking, I thought just to whet the appetite of our audiences and give them a little reminder of one of your iconic roles, the one that actually launched your career at the Met, which is, of course, Rusalka. And here we're going to listen to, from 2014, the Metropolitan Opera HD transmission of your performance on the stage, singing in Rusalka, the famous song "To the Moon." So that was Renée Fleming singing "Song to the Moon," which, as I know from talking to you in the past and from knowing your history, of course, that was the song that helped you win. Your performance of that song helped you win the Metropolitan Opera's National Council auditions and really launched your career. I'm sure you remember that well, I'm sure.
Oh, yes. We remember all of those formative experiences really better than the later ones when everything was a blur. And that was especially exciting and really thrilling to be on stage and to really think about a future at the Met.
So "Song to the Moon" is not on the concert program this coming Saturday when you're performing this live pay-per-view concert in Dumbarton Oaks, but it is the program is full of arias and songs that opera lovers here and around the world I know will love. And we should talk about your program a little bit. But first, I wanted to ask you, which I think is on everyone's mind these days, is how are you surviving, or how have you survived the health crisis? And how do you keep yourself going artistically? And how have you had to kind of reinvent the way you do things to keep yourself stimulated in that way?
Well, it is starting to feel long. I have to say, I know colleagues of mine and people that I talk to are beginning to get a little bit stir crazy, especially for us, because our lifestyles, and certainly for my entire adult life, include a tremendous amount of travel and visiting audiences. And Sarah Bareilles said it on the news very well last week. She said, "I miss people." And I think we all feel that way right now. But I'm incredibly busy. So I have a lot of projects that are local, that are home related. I love gardening, so I'm trying that. I'm trying cooking with less success. I've decided that cooking is way overrated. And I planted about 400 plants, but there is a vegetable garden, so I am having my own little harvest every day. So I love plants. I love nature. This is one of the reasons I think why I moved here, is because I just thought I need, at some point in my life, to live in nature. And this is, it feels like we're in the tropics, I think. A lot of rain.
But you're living in Virginia, near where you're going to be performing, which of course is one of the virtues of all of these performances in this series is that we've asked our artists to perform in locations that are not normal concert venues. Although Dumbarton Oaks, which was the site of in 1944, it was the historic site where the United Nations was first formulated and launched in a conference between various leading nations. And the room which you're performing in, which is a very ornate, beautiful room, that is sometimes used for musical soirees, I guess. But in this case, there will be no audience in the room, both for health reasons and also because the idea of these performances is really to connect you directly with the public watching you at home. So I wonder, I don't know if you've ever been in that kind of situation of a live performance with nobody watching you except cameras, which are the extension of the audience of many thousands of people who will be watching you. Have you thought about how you're going to play for that? I mean, play to that audience?
Well, I mean, the only other time was really the 5 minutes of the gala, the Met Gala. So, right. And that was an unbelievable undertaking. I don't know how you did it, to be honest. And so this is
we did it with thanks to all of the artists who function as their own camera operators, yes. Sound technicians. This is a little bit different though. We have multiple. There'll be 4 or 5 5 cameras in the room. One of them will be on a tower that goes up and down. We have a camera on a track that will be moving around you in the room. So this will be very highly produced and, in fact, unusually produced because the director of the show, Gary Halverson, will be with me in the New York studio producing it kind of via satellite. Gary, of course, is the director who's directed most of our 8 live in HD opera shows.
He's great. He's really wonderful.
Tell me how do you think about this? And let's talk about.
I have to say I'm a little bit apprehensive because there's no audience, so there's no response, there's no applause. We're fed by applause. It's the air we breathe, and there's also no coming on and off. So I always tell the audience that when I go off stage, because increasingly people come into a concert and they'll see you because they may have heard of you or know a recording, but they don't necessarily know the tradition of the recital. And so I'll say it's like the sorbet. We have to kind of clear the palate for the next course. In this case, there isn't really that opportunity. So I made kind of little mini groups, thinking about repertoire in terms of language or style or by composer, and trying to make something that I thought would be really interesting, almost all arias, just a couple of songs, but also something that I would feel comfortable doing live, because live is pressure. It's a lot of extra pressure.
I know, of course it's pressure, but that's also why audiences love live,
yes.
Particularly when it comes to opera,
right.
Because they are excited to, they view you as kind of their vocal athletic champion, and they want to, be with you as you're clearing the pole vault or whatever, or vocally.
Right.
But I think that, of course, the way the format of this program work is that although you will not leave the room, the camera will leave the room to give you a break a couple of times in the program and return to New York, where Christine Gerke, your colleague, the soprano, will be hosting the program. But in terms of the arias that are on the program, I know you have some selections of Handel, and you're doing one of your signature roles in Marcelin Rosenkavalier, and selections from Manon, and it's really a wide variety of rep.
And Marietta's Lied from the Korngold Dito de Stad is very popular.
Right. Fantastic.
Puccini in Chile. You can't do opera without Italian opera. That's really the foundation of opera. And then John Corigliano also wrote a piece for me to premiere recently based on And the People Stayed Home, the Skiddy O'Meara piece that went completely viral on the internet. And I love what he did. And it's a cappella. It's a very lonely piece, which is what he intended.
That was written specifically for the health crisis.
Right.
And you're opening the program with that.
Yeah. Yes.
That's good.
And it's interesting to me because the Handel aria that follows it, which is Cleopatra's Death aria, in terms of the evocative nature of the piece, relates incredibly well. This is one of the things I love about opera. It really shows us how human beings don't change very quickly. There's so much about opera that was written 300 years ago that is relevant to us right now.
Well, obviously, you've given a lot of thought to this program, which is great, and which I'm sure will be greatly appreciated by the audience who will be joining you. Um, so tell me, in terms of if when you're creating a program, I realize this is a different situation because you don't have a formal intermission, but do you try to create the program so it builds to a certain emotional arc, or does it have several different peaks during the course of the program, or what would you say?
Well,
What are the peaks of this program?
well, that's interesting. That's a very interesting question. I mean, I've been concertizing for so long now that my goal really is to fashion a program that is enjoyable to the public. And enjoyable often means that there are those peaks, there are those moments that virtuosically or in terms of energy, there's excitement. And then you are kind of creating a meal. It's a very erudite way to think about it, but you have kind of the starter and the main course, and of course everybody wants dessert, but if you only had dessert, you wouldn't enjoy it as much. So, I definitely love programming, and it gives me a tremendous amount of freedom to continually fashion new things for the audiences where they are. Now, this is an international audience, and this is an audience that's, my little program has 62 countries that check into it. So this is going to be probably much bigger than that. And it's exciting to kind of think about what will reach everyone. How many of these pieces can reach everyone?
Well, it's interesting hearing you describe it in gastronomic terms, since you were saying earlier that you didn't like cooking, but obviously this is the kind of cooking that you thrive from.
That's right.
Well, we in the little time that we have allotted, I guess we've covered most of the bases, or some of the bases. I was reminded the other day that you're the only opera singer in the world who's ever had an asteroid named after her, which I believe that's the case. So
Yes.
I think that's maybe an appropriate metaphor for the satellite nature of this program, and that it will be reaching audiences all over the world. Anyway,
I like it. I'm going to keep it.
I'm looking forward so much to Saturday's program. Thanks so much, Renée, for talking with me today.
Thank you, Peter.